My first question is really around the changing tides, right? We're seeing a lot of major economic, environmental, and advertising ecosystem changes that's forced marketers to shift their marketing strategies and overall plans. Marketers now need to consider how forces like inflation, the pandemic, third-party cookie deprecation, and even supply chain issues will impact their overall marketing mix, the performance of their marketing, and build these considerations into their marketing measurement models and their future marketing plans. So, Sean, I want to start with you as a marketing leader at Albertsons. You see that the grocery industry, CPG, and even kind of overall retail experience economic pressures, specifically supply chain shortages due to COVID. How do you consider the changes in the supply chain due to COVID in your marketing measurement and optimization models? And how do these market forces, how have they shifted your marketing and media dollars at Albertsons?
Great question. Good to be with all of you on such an important topic this morning. I think that what you've described, and certainly what the grocery industry, but many other industries have gone through over the past year, is just incredible volatility. There's been a ton of uncertainty in it, and it's been volatile, obviously, from the effects of COVID and everything that has happened since then, and the supply chain constraints that we have today and the inflationary environment that we have today. But also, as most of you know, I mean, it's just a fascinating field that we work in because it's changing every day. Some of those changes are positive, and some of those changes require us to react. I think the key to this and succeeding in this is agility. And agility is significantly aided when you have confidence in measurement, and when you have an approach to measurement that gives you confidence in results and what's happening that you can use to react to on a variety of different levels, at a macro level for making significant budget shifts, or on a micro level of optimizing performance on a daily or weekly basis. I mean, specifically for Albertsons and grocery right now, yes, as you mentioned, there's supply chain constraints, which many industries are dealing with, but also inflation that's hitting our customers significantly. And grocery is an incredibly complex business. I mean, we have thousands of deals in our stores every week on tens of thousands of items that we stock in our stores. So, what the key is delivering, the right message and the right deal and offer to the right customer at the right time. And that requires an incredible amount of personalization so that we can bring the best deal to people so they can stretch their budget as far as possible when they're coming in to make their grocery shop. And of course, with supply chain constraints, we have to make sure that when we're offering a deal to a customer, that what they see in our advertising, they come into the store and they can get, or it's a completely wasted impression and waste of advertising dollars. So the key to that for us is just great data foundation, great personalization capabilities, and the ability to optimize dynamically on the fly, and also on a near real-time basis, looking at measurement and impact and shifting dollars and focus.
Great. Now, John, at PayPal, I know you probably have to deal with a lot of changes that's occurring in the ad tech industry now, specifically with the Google's intention to deprecate the third-party cookie, and even Apple's restrictions on tracking within their ecosystem. Now, PayPal, as a leader in the digital payment space, I'm sure has felt that impact. Can you describe how the changing ad tech ecosystem has impacted your marketing measurement and media measurement models and optimizations?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to join here for the topic. I really like what Sean said as well around consistency in building a strong foundation, because I think at the end of the day, the shifting sands have changed our perspective just in terms of the measurement rubric and how we understand the efficacy of how we're deploying dollars. And what we've heard loud and clear from our marketing stakeholders, and like it's not just PayPal, it's not this isn't a unique problem, that we have the same challenges at Starbucks, but we I think there's an element of sausage making and trying different measurement techniques over the years and different disciplines for how you do it. And in some cases, we're measuring a program with two different methodologies. And if you ask any marketer, they're ready to pull their hair out because we spend a lot of time just trying to adjudicate what maybe two different approaches would say. So right now, there's more and more of a push for simplicity and a clear rubric for how we think about measurement. And I think that's where the power of, and I promise this isn't a plug for Ipsos, but just for how we think about the framework, and especially on the media mix modeling, which is really where we think of as a single source of truth for those higher level investments and where we deploy dollars. Because by the way, as you mentioned, it also affords us the opportunity to account for other factors or covariates of things that can be influencing what's happening to our sales, because it's really a multivariate approach to solving what is truly a multivariate problem. And that's the advantage over what we may have historically done with different types of measurement solutions, where it's sort of like you're looking at a part of a problem in isolation when you really want to be looking at it as a multivariate solution. So I think that's really the power here, and I think it's really helping our marketing stakeholders understand and really just know that they do have more one-stop shopping for the higher level understanding of ROI and where we're deploying dollars. Now, when it comes to optimization, of course, MMM won't work, but that's where we rely more on where we can leverage experimentation and testing, especially with own channels, where you can actually start to test and learn against whether it's different versions of creatives or different types of targeting or segments that you want to go after, using the incrementality and the experimentation capabilities there to help inform the tuning and optimization, but relying more and more on the unified measurement approach with the MMM to help us kind of inform how we're thinking about our higher order investments. So I think, knock on wood, that approach will hopefully be future-proofed in terms of how we are seeing some of the changes in the industry, and it will allow us to keep kind of a finger on what's happening from an efficacy perspective. And I think the consistency, as I mentioned and Sean mentioned, it's important because I think that's really what our stakeholders are craving. They don't want to hear about some WYSIWYG new application for measurement. They want to see something that's repeatable time and time again that they can understand, and I think that's the value here.
I think what's really interesting, you mentioned testing. At Forrester, we administer a global marketing survey every year since, I've been with Forrester for about 11 years, and we ask a question about methodology for measurement. And we saw an 11% increase of adoption of testing and experimental design as a way to measure uplift, right? And I think it's like addressing the issue of on a day-to-day campaign and tactic reporting, we need a better way to measure incrementality. So, and what's old is new again. 15 years ago, this is what we used to do on the client side. So Mike, from your perspective, you're in a very, very interesting industry, being a part of Gilead, where you have multiple objectives, you may have multiple constraints, and you have to address the needs of end patients and physicians, right? Because they're both your customers. Can you describe how an event like COVID has impacted your marketing analytics and measurement approaches? What did you have to now consider because of COVID? And then how did it accelerate your overall digital strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question, Tina, and thanks for having me on this panel. I think it's really interesting hearing from these other panelists across industries, because so much of it still resonates despite the differences in our businesses, which is amazing to hear. But to your question, historically, pharma marketing has been very reliant on the impact of our field sales force. going to the doctor's offices, talking with physicians, communicating the value proposition, the target patient profile of our products. And I think that, all the other channels that we deploy, TV for direct to patient marketing or digital or social, really plays a subservient role to bolstering that personal promotion via that sales force. And so for obvious reasons, once COVID hit us in 2020, it really forced us to reevaluate how we thought about our overall marketing strategy and approach across all of our product areas. Specifically because so many of these healthcare providers were overwhelmed facing COVID, and they didn't have time to have us on site talking about products that were unrelated to what was in their mind the most urgent need, and fairly so, rightly so. It presented us with a challenge, right? How do we continue to drive our business, continue to engage with our healthcare providers so that other therapeutic areas and patients in them continue to get connected to care? So we had to play catch up in many ways to other industries and to accelerate our digital capabilities. And that came with increased investment and a better need to understand the impact of those digital campaigns and performances and how it was connecting to and driving our business overall. So we ended up expanding our digital marketing operations team. We increased our investments in non-personal promotion, tech infrastructure. We expanded our analytics capabilities with unified attribution, so that we could have these near real-time optimization capabilities with our media agencies. And even as COVID restrictions have eased, it's clear that this is sort of the new normal for us, right? It took something as big as COVID to really kick us in the pants and get us moving in the right direction to start catching up with these other industries. But I think this is definitely the right way to head in terms of the future for our digital strategy.
Well, what's interesting is that at Forrester, we've been tracking for years, like the shift from traditional media to digital. And when the pandemic happened, we saw more dollars go towards digital. And we were like, this was the pendulum that finally swung digital investments to increase over kind of traditional media. And I think across all industries, and we saw that across all industries, and it was even accelerated when we saw through our consumer technographics survey that, people were shifting to at-home working. They were online more. They wanted to engage more, and they eventually started to hunger for like going out and going in store. But I think marketers did a really good job at identifying and shifting almost immediately towards digital investments. Great. So I